The Fox and the Stork. Mrs. Stork and Mr. Fox used to see each other from time to time. They liked to talk for a while and share stories. But Mrs. Stork seemed too presumptuous to the fox, and one day she thought of playing a joke on her. So he told her that he was going to visit her at her house, and after chatting for a while, he told her, "It's great to be able to talk to you, Stork. I'm thinking that it would be fantastic if you came to eat at my house tomorrow." "Well, I'm delighted," the stork answered. And that's how they agreed that Mrs. Stork would visit Don Zorro the next day. Mrs. Stork was very happy, and she went to eat in her best clothes at Mr. Zorro's house. There he was, waiting with the table set and a succulent soup served in 2 large plates. The fox enjoyed the food, licking the soup with its tongue, and the poor stork, however, with its long, narrow beak, was not able to get any of the soup and could not take a bite. But since she was very polite, she didn't say anything. And at the end of the meal, she thanked Don Zorro and told him that everything was delicious. The fox laughed to himself, very happy that the joke had gone well, and Mrs. Stork, before leaving, invited Mr. Fox to eat the next day at her house as a token of gratitude. The next day, Mr. Fox went to Mrs. Stork's house. The smell that came out of the kitchen was really delicious. But when he sat down at the table, Mr. Zorro saw that the food was deposited in the depths of an elongated bottle. Mrs. Stork had no problem with her long beak. She managed to catch the smallest pieces of food, while Mr. Fox, no matter how hard he tried, couldn't eat anything. He stretched and stretched his tongue, but could only lick the glass. Moral of the story: treat others as you would like to be treated. It is important to use empathy in our relationships with others. Sometimes we make jokes that are too bad. Imagine for a moment that you are in that person's place and think if you would like to receive the same joke. If someone we know has been kind and cordial to us, we should be grateful and avoid ridicule or behavior that could make them suffer or feel uncomfortable. And this is the end of story.
The Firefly and the Snake.
It is said that in the evening of a hot summer day, a happy and distracted firefly was flying, moving gracefully up and down, while she was heading to her house. But a snake that was hungry and bored saw it passing by, and without thinking twice, it began to chase it. When it thought it was within reach, it threw a bite at it while stretching its entire body and taking a big leap. The firefly barely managed to dodge it agilely, and although it got an impressive scare, it concentrated and escaped quickly, still with fear in its body. But the ferocious predator was not going to give up on her in her attempt to eat her, and she continued chasing her stubbornly. The firefly was able to flee during the first day, But the snake did not give up. 2 days, and nothing. On the third day, already without strength, the firefly stopped its flight and went to perch on a bush, hidden between a few leaves. She said to the snake, "Sorry for bothering you. Can I ask you 3 questions? It's not my custom to answer anyone's questions, but since I'm going to eat you soon, you can ask." The snake responded, "So tell me, do you feed on fireflies?" No, what's wrong?" answered the snake. "Did I do something wrong to you?" No, none, the reptile responded again. "So why do you want to finish me off?" The snake, who couldn't find a logical answer, she turned red suddenly and told him, "Because I can't stand. See you shine." She snapped at the snake with anger as she stretched, and she launched one last enraged attack. The firefly took advantage of this uncontrolled attempt to get out of the bush with great skill and quickly get lost in the forest. Moral of the story: have you ever wondered why they attacked you if you haven't done anything? Bad, not against anyone. This is simply because some people can't stand to see you shine. If this happens to you, you should completely ignore the snakes and continue decisively on your path. Always try to surround yourself with the light of other fireflies and share your own light with them. And even if others shine brighter, never behave like the snake. When someone envies your achievements or your luck, it may hurt a little, but when that happens, continue being yourself. Don't let them hurt you. Keep shining, and rest assured that there will always be someone who supports you and knows how to value the light that is inside you. And this is the end of story.
Fix the world. A scientist was worried about problems of the world, and he was determined to find means to reduce them. He spent days locked in his laboratory, looking for answers to his doubts. One day, his 7-year-old son came into his room laboratory, determined to help you work. The scientist, nervous about interruption, tried to make the son went to play somewhere else. Seeing that it would be impossible to get him out of there, the father thought of something to entertain the child with the aim of distract attention from him. He suddenly picked up a map from a magazine, and with scissors he cut it into several pieces. Along with a roll of tape adhesive, he handed it to the son, saying, "You like puzzles, so I'm going to give you the world to fix it. Here I leave everything broken. Look, if you can fix it well, do it all yourself only." He estimated that it would take the boy a day, recompose the map but a few hours. Then he heard the voice of the boy who told him. He called calmly, "Dad! Dad! I'm done. I've done it." The father thought it would be impossible, for at his age, he would have managed to put together a map which he had never seen. Then the scientist raised his eyes from his notes, sure that he would see a work worthy of a child. For your surprise, the map was complete. Everyone, the pieces had been placed in his place of him. How would it be possible? Like the boy, would I have been able to? You did not know. What was the world like? My son. How was it? Did you get? Dad, I didn't know what the world was like. But when you removed the paper from the magazine to cut out, I saw that from the other side. There was the figure of a man. When you gave me the world to fix it, I tried, but I didn't succeed. It was then. When I remembered the man, I turned around the cuts and I started to fix it. Now that I knew what it was like, when I got Fix the Man, I turned the page and I found that he had fixed the world. And this is the end of story. The Two Wolves. One morning, a wise Cherokee elder, he was telling his grandson about life and of the struggle that develops within the inside of people. The old man said, "My son, he is in danger. Battle between two wolves in our inside all of us." One of them is a black wolf. It is evil, fear, anger, envy, pain, ill feeling, greed, arrogance, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, pride, egoism, competition, and superiority. The other wolf is white. It is kindness, joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, benevolence, friendship, empathy, generosity, truth, and compassion. This same fight is happening inside of us and within all beings from the earth. The grandson, after a few minutes of reflection, he asked his grandpa, "Tell me, Grandpa, which of the two wolves do you think he will win?" The wise old man, Cherokee, simply responded, "The outcome of the battle depends on what wolf you decide to feed." And this is the end of story.
The Sad Oak. Once upon a time somewhere, I could be any place, and at a time that it could be any time. A beautiful garden with apple trees, orange trees, pear trees, and beautiful rose bushes. All of them were happy, and they were very satisfied. Everything. It was joy in the garden, except for one deeply sad tree. The poor, he had a problem. He didn't know who he was. What you lack is concentration, said the apple tree. If you try, you can have tasty apples. You see how easy it is. Don't listen to him, he demanded. The rose bush, it is easier to have roses, you see how beautiful they are, and the desperate tree. He tried everything they suggested, and as he couldn't be like the others, he felt increasingly frustrated. One day it came to the garden, the owl, the wisest of the birds, and seeing the desperation of the tree, he exclaimed, "Don't worry, your problem is not that serious. It is the same of many beings on the earth. I'll give you the solution. Don't dedicate your life to being like others, whoever you are. Be yourself, know yourself, and to achieve this, listen to your inner voice." And with that, the owl disappeared. My inner voice, being myself, knowing myself, the desperate tree asked itself, when he suddenly understood, and closing the eyes, and the ears, opened the heart, and finally, he could hear his inner voice, telling him, "You will never give apples, because you are not an apple tree, nor will you bloom every spring, because you are not a rose bush. You are an oak, and your destiny is to grow large and majestic, giving shelter to the birds, shadow to travelers, beauty to landscape. You have a mission, fulfill it." And the tree felt strong and sure of himself, and he prepared to be all that for which it was intended. So soon he filled his space and was admired and respected by all, and only then the garden was completely happy. Moral, always be yourself.
And this is the end of story.
The Wolf and the Dog. A thin and hungry wolf found himself on the way to a certain fat and good dog, Careful. "Explain to me," he said. "Why is it? Since I am stronger than you, I do not find what to eat." "It is due," the dog answered, "to the care of my master. He gives me bread and the bones that are left over. Plus, I don't have other obligation than to watch his house." "Yeah, if you like, you can enjoy what is mine, fulfilling the same obligations." "Okay," replied the wolf. "It is better to live like this. Wander through the countryside in search of sustenance. But hey," added the wolf, "what do you have on your neck?" "Is the chain necklace with which they tie me to the kennel during the day, in night change free of ties. I run where I want." "Well, if you are not free," replied the wolf, "enjoy your goods that I don't want them. If to enjoy them, I have to sacrifice my freedom. Better is freedom with difficulties, more comfortable and gifted slavery."
And this is the end of story.